Great. So we're back on. Hopefully you can all see that. We've got a thumbs up. Yeah, great. Thanks. So we've done that quick intro. So the whole plan of this afternoon is just look at a little bit of background. So Mark will take us through that, the why and how what we've gone through, how we got to here in the first place. I'll take us through what's actually changed. There's 2 key law changes. Then we'll do some signposting. As you can see, some of you have probably started to look at some of the hub already, but what resources are available? We have a Tackle Height hub now that has everything on there that you can start to look at. But also what is to come during the summer months in terms of the trickle down for coaches, players, volunteers, match officials, everyone out there in the game. So we're ready to hit the ground running. And then we're planning on picking most of the questions that were fed through as we go through the presentation, but we'll have a little bit of time for that towards the end as well. So hopefully we'll pick them up. So thanks to those who submitted questions. It's appreciated. It gives us a heads up, but also gives us a flavour in terms of actually what things are happening locally and what challenges you potentially have. Okay. So I'll hand over to Mark. He's just going to give it a bit of the story so far, and then we'll kick on.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. Good to, as the guys have said, good to see a really good turnout. The session will build on what we did at the StoneX. For those of you that were there, I know there's a number of names on the call now who were there as well. So this will build on. We've got more certainty as well since that session. So just recapping very briefly on the story so far. As many of you all know, we've been in a long process of review around injury prevention, and particularly around head injury and head impact prevention over the last 6 years really in earnest, but certainly before that as well, when we've started the injury surveillance program. So it's been a long-term piece of work, and we know now, and we outlined this previously and early in January, the research shows that there is higher risk in the tackle than anywhere else in the game. And particularly tackling when 2 heads are in the same space. So the reaction and the work that we've done is based on that research that we have. We agreed back in January to lower the tackle height and look at both the role of the tackler and the ball carrier. And then after that initial communications, we conducted a really large-scale consultation, which many of you fed into. So thank you again for those that did. And that was across the whole game. We had the survey that went out. We had 8,500 responses to the survey, from a whole range of people involved in the game, from players to coaches to referees to spectators, to administrators, organisers as well, and right across clubs, schools, colleges and universities, which was great, and other groups, I should say as well, community groups. So that was the survey. We also engaged with just under 1,000 people face-to-face through the forums that took place around the country. And then there were the online forums as well. And there was around 270 people involved in those. And some of those forums were targeted at specific audiences as well. So we're making sure we're trying to cover the whole of the game again. That really helped us to understand the key challenges and areas that people were concerned about, the opportunities that people also highlighted in how the game would be played, as well as how we would manage a rollout as well. So answering questions around definitions of what people would call the changes and things like that has really helped to get us to the point we are now. And of course, then in amongst that time as well was when World Rugby started to communicate their direction as well. They instructed all the rugby unions around the world to look at a lowering of the tackle height in the community game. And subsequently, as well, as you will have heard recently, they're also talking about what implications that may have for the professional game as well, to potentially follow suit. So World Rugby, as that direction from World Rugby is coming as well. To the point where back on the 21st of April, the law was agreed. So we've taken all that information, data and feedback from the consultation. And now, having agreed that law, which Mike will talk through in a second, we're now into an implementation phase. And we know that that's a really key part for us to engage as many people right across the game, to help people's understanding, but also to roll out so that from the 1st of July, everyone's in a position to engage with and start to develop that new tackle height and the role of ball carrier as well as tackler as well. So With that, I'll hand back to Mike, who will talk through the specifics.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. Okay, so what's changing for the university sector? As some of you have seen already, and some of you have been on the tackle height hub already. So the height of the tackle in the community game, as for yourselves, has gone from the shoulder to below the base of the sternum. So current law around responsibility for the tackler is 9.13. So those of you who love the NORs for the laws, there you go, it's all there. I'll try and bring it a bit more to life. Current law is in black, and of course the added bits around the consultation is now in red. So that's the bit that we went out to the game to ask about that. So basically the changes, of course, the first contact now has to be below the base of the sternum. And this only applies to open play. So it has to be open play tackle, open play being after kickoff, restart, free kick, penalty, set piece, and before the next phase. So that's according to law. So it's only looking at open play tackle. Even if we start below the base of the sternum and we ride up, we're still potentially liable to be sanctioned. All right, so I will signpost you to the application of law, which is all available for everyone a bit later on, for those of you who want to look at that in detail. But remember what Mark said, the whole impact around this and the research has been around taking two heads out of the same airspace, so the ball carrier and the tackler. Okay, and hence why the word liable. That'll be very much around match official understanding on the day and actually how they see and what situation they are on the field. There is no change to the ruck, maul or line out. Hence, of course, that's the breakdown. So of course, it's just the open play tackle. The pick and go will also remain as part of the game. We don't want to change the fabric of the game. And that was brought up a lot in consultation, that actually the ball carriers set their height already. So that's written into the application of law that actually the tackle will be above the base of the sternum there, but much lower speeds and lower risk in terms of the head acceleration and that collision of open play tackling. The two-player tackle also will stay as part of the game. That's a key part of our principles of play in terms of go forward and bringing two people in the same area and creating space. And there's some guidance on the hub around actually that evasion and trying to go back to, trying to find space and bringing two opponents together. We admit it will look different. And the key part will be around the second tackler will also have to adhere to 9.13. So the second tackler will also have to have their first point of contact below the base of the sternum. And then finally, really, the rip tackle will also continue as well. So we want them to be able to target the belly or the thighs. That's everything we put across every coaching course anyway. So we can still target the ball. But of course, it's as the coaching team will talk about, it's risk versus reward. So if we're still hinging at the hips and we're targeting the ball, we can still target the ball and look for that rip tackle. But bearing in mind, we're trying to keep two heads around the same airspace. So it's that risk versus reward and actually liable for being sanctioned if two heads are closed and two heads are colliding. Okay, so that's all there. I will signpost you to the hub anyway, where more further details on there, but that takes you through what's actually been confirmed now in terms of law. So it's attempting to tackle an opponent in open play above the base of the sternum, even if the tackle starts below the base. The second part, of course, what we found from the research is that both the ball carrier and the tackler have a responsibility to avoid head contact. It can't just solely be the tackler. So if we're changing those bits, we have to look at the ball carrier. So those of you who, again, love the laws already, you'll know 9.11a exists. So the ball carrier has a responsibility and a duty of care around reckless or dangerous play. So no leading with the head, forearm, elbow, those kind of things. What's changed going forward will be point B. And this is around the ball carrier must not lower their height significantly before making contact with an opponent. So hopefully the picture on the right visualizes that better for you. So the cues and the pictures that referees will be looking for is that late and low. The word significant, again, I'll signpost you to the application of law. That'll be up for the match official to determine that. But actually the wording we're looking at, if shoulders go below hips, you're in a bit of danger there. You're in a weak position. We're not offering any green zones for the player to tackle, but also you're at much risk of putting two heads straight back into that same airspace. You can see the two green areas. So we can still brace and be prepared for contact. We just can't do it just before. We can't do it late, and we can't dip our shoulders below our hips. And basically it's there to make sure we don't have that head-on-head contact. Okay. that's probably, I know that's been a lot of the questions that have come through already. I'm not sure if anything's been fired through, Mark. I know you're watching it, aren't you? Okay, but I hope there's that. So it's basically shoulders, make sure the shoulders above hips, that we can brace for contact, but it's that low dip just before, especially when the tackle has been set, they've got no opportunity to be able to get into a green zone, go for a stomach or a leg tackle. Okay. So how we plan to roll this out. So this is live now. So there's the 2 law changes that I've done. The tackle height roadmap is now up online, which is there for the game to have a look at in terms of how we plan to roll out the ongoing resources. This has been broken down into informing people, an opportunity for coaches, players, match officials, colleges, universities, schools to be able to observe some certain material that are out there, and then a chance to people to engage, either that's virtually or in person. We know that people have different blended learning styles as well. So we're currently in that informed stage where the law's been set, and then we're informing the game of actually what the law wording is, what the resources are available to you, and hence why this webinar is here. We'll then go into an observe phase where you'll be able to have an opportunity to have a look at a few quizzes, especially around the role of the ball carrier and the role of the tackler, and there'll be some best practice videos and some officiating guides for people as well. As we go further on, there'll be loads of opportunities to engage it virtually through more webinars, and we'll make sure that we do a full education program as well. And then there'll be a series of face-to-face training programs for coaches, match officials and players as well. So I'll signpost you to this. I won't go into mass detail now, but it's there now so you can see what we're trying to do as the game up until June and then into pre-season, ready for the start of the year. And then finally, I'll just bring you to the Tackle Height Hub. So this is live now on englandrugby.com. I think we'll make sure we'll put the link into the chat, and it'll also get sent out into the notes as well. So this is your one-stop shop for everything that's related to tackle height, and it'll evolve and grow, and it'll be updated weekly as more materials start to become available and some of the videos get finalized. So again, the roadmap is there front and center for you to have a look at. There's also the research papers and the videos around the background. So Simon Kemp's on there producing some bits. We've got some videos that bring the pictures and the graphics to life, and then all the resources linked to referee application of law, the referee guidance, coaches guidance. For those who are interested, I appreciate it doesn't link to you, but there is the age grade framework there. It's not regulation for you, but there's some really good information in there around the blocks as we go through the season in terms of planning and periodization. Some of you might be keen to have a look at that in terms of how we prepare players. And I will signpost the law information pack is excellent. There's some great information there on actually some key cues you can give to players around as a ball carrier and a tackler. You'll be able to pass that through, especially your more social players who might be wrapping up pretty soon. And actually, there's a big summer period, so there's lots of information they'll be able to delve into during the summer period. I appreciate they won't be at university, but there'll be opportunities locally, depending on where they live, for them to dip in and out on resources and get support ready for the start of the season. Mark, I'll hand this bit to you.
Thanks, Mike. Just wanted to outline an area university specific for you. We know there's challenges around the BUCS programme being cross-border in terms of England, Wales and Scotland. So along with BUCS and the Students' RFU, we are already into discussions around this and how do we deal with the implications of cross-border matches. And that, of course, can happen at all levels. That's not just at Women's National League or BSR level. And that's both in terms of what happens in a cross-border game from both professional and community matches, and also what about the fixtures where players are playing in fixtures. One week they may be playing in what is defined as professional match. The next week they might be playing something that's community. So clarity for those players as well is something we're working on. And this is now a specific work strand in the implementation plan for tackle height. We've already had some discussions, and some of those who have joined the call today are supporting this from both BUCS and the Students' RFU with our professional department to look at things there. really keen on picking up with our colleagues in Wales and Scotland as well, to try and make sure that we're in position to give a really clear direction on what the laws that will be played in the matches within the university programme, at performance level, but also at the other levels as well that may play cross-border. The aim for that currently is to make sure we've done that at least by the 1st of July. So that's well in advance of the season. Clearly, we want to try and accelerate that so that we're catching people before they're moving away for the summer as well. So Andy, thanks very much for that message in the chat there. We want to try and get to all of those teams that are entered for next year, and through yourselves, clearly, as the majority of our leads in the university sector, to give you some clarity around this as soon as possible. Just specifically around Women's National League and Bucks Super Rugby, what we have currently, the challenge we have, and this was started discussion at the Rugby Action Group on the day of the finals, is we do have a different definition of where professional rugby starts at the moment between the Welsh and Scottish and English unions, and that's the bit that we want to try and sort out as well. So that is wrapped into this as well, making sure that we try and have some consistency and clarity between what happens over those borders, where regularly players are playing not only cross-border but at different levels as well from a community and performance perspective. So that, as I say, is a specific strand of work in the implementation plan as well. And as I say, we'll be involving both Bucks, SRFU, working with the other unions, and we'll probably be looking for some input from some of you as well to help us with those decisions. Do you want to just flick it on, Mike? So the other thing is, and Mike's referenced already the sort of engagement and face-to-face programmes throughout the summer. As we did last year, we are once again running a large number of education-specific training courses. So the Introduction to Contact course, and a number of staff from universities and students attended these last year right across the country. So 40 courses running in all corners of England this June and July. Opportunity clearly in that, because it is around contact, to talk specifically around the new tackle height regulations. That will specifically be part of the content. So a really good opportunity for you, your workforce in the university, including your students, to come along and familiarise themselves with the new programme. And then we've also got 4 specific for women in the education sector who are coaching, organising, leading programmes for women and girls in schools, colleges and universities for specific dates as well, which will also, there will be an element of these will include tackle height briefing as well. So some really good specific education opportunities to come along and develop the skills that will be required to introduce the new tackle height next year. And clearly we're keen to keep pushing that. We'll push it as much as possible, but we'd like you to do the same as well through your workforces, both for the Introduction to Contact and those Women in Rugby conferences as well. And I'm handing back to you, Mike.
Thank you. So what else is to come? So that's currently in process, that's ready, they're planned, up and coming. We also, in the next couple of weeks, there will be 240 tackle clinics that'll be launched around the country. So they'll be running as a cluster at various establishments and stuff, but there will be cluster delivered by the coach development team. So there'll be pure tackle clinics, a blended indoor and outdoor delivery for people to be able to come along, have a look at the chat about the law and get into some detail around that. We'll be launching a tackle champions program, so it would be great to get some champions and some ambassadors across the university landscape to support us with that. They can then help with local training, delivery and advocacy of the program. As I mentioned, as you saw on the roadmap, there will be a live stream, a number of live stream events backed up with podcasts and webinars. So the live stream events will be delivered by the performance department. So the under 18s, under 20s, performance coaches, very similar to if those of you are involved when you saw when we did the Eddie Jones Facebook Live sessions. And then with all the graphics that are currently on the hub at the moment, there'll be the videos, there'll be some extra videos for people to jump on, have a look at that. Again, some of you will love seeing the visuals. And also some of you would like to probably get into more detail and watch videos, and that'll be very much around the pre, during, post tackle elements, which will be part of all the new training and course programs as well. Okay, that's the bits. There's all, you'll see all those bits area. That's all been signposted on the roadmap. So again, I'd encourage you to have a look at the Tackle Height Hub, have a read through the information on there. Some great videos and some great guidance on there, especially around the application of law, and then the law information pack, which gives you even more research in the background that we've gone through today. So there's lots of information to get going, and that will be added on as we go through the summer months. That basically brings us up to Q&A bit. Hopefully I'm hopeful that we've covered most of that. Most of the questions that came through, especially around the ball carrier, and a lot of you wanted to know around what does significant mean, and actually shoulders above hips. The training programs out there throughout the summer. So I appreciate a lot of the students will be starting to into exam period, and then they'll be gone. You won't see them to the start of the year. So if we could encourage to keep in touch with them and signpost them locally to all the opportunities that are going on there, and then we'll keep in contact with you through the summer months. There was a big question around refereeing. So again, the referees, so the match official development side, led by Michael Patz, of course, have pulled all the law, application of law together already. They'll be doing a full rollout of referees. That's both current and new, whether they're panel, society, or club referees. That will be open access for everyone. So there'll be a big, just exactly how they would normally roll out DLV, which is the domestic law variation. So when we rolled out the new line out lifting laws, and with the change of the engagement sequence, and they'll be very much going through that training process there. So I know there were some questions about referees and their interpretation. That is our law. That's what application of law is there for. The subjective, aren't they? And it's all on materiality and empathy of the game that's happening at the moment in time of you. But the application is very clear. So I'd encourage you to have a read of that, have a look at that, and there's a full training program for the referees to make sure that we're ready for the new year. Sanctions, there was one question around sanctions. So again, I'll signpost you to the hub. The new sanction framework is now live on the hub, so you'll be able to have a look at that. And those of you who are aware of the head injury process, it's very much the same. That actually there's mitigating risk and so on, and a process that the referees will follow through. So that's out there now, and they're going through a training program with that. Mark, there was one about transition and delay to the start. I'm not sure if you wanted to, someone did ask.
Apologies, I'm off mute now. We've had a number of questions just around, will there be a delay to the start of the season? That isn't the intention currently, and that is why we're going public now, and why we're encouraging everyone to use the hub. And that's all, we know some of your programs and some club programs are huge numbers of players and others. We would really encourage you to direct people to the hub for the information. What Mike's just talked about, the application of the law as well, stuff is really good, really helpful. So we don't see at the moment a need to delay the start to the season, and that is why we've got this huge rollout and implementation plan, including all those courses that I've just talked about, and Mike talked about 240 clinics as well across the country. So we are really keen to keep those as open as possible to people, as well as all the online stuff as well. So a mixture of face-to-face and online information. And if we can, again, encourage you guys to encourage as many of those you're in touch with to engage with and attend those online or face-to-face elements, we don't think a delay to the start of the season is required.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. And the last question is a few asked around monitoring evaluation. So this is really important. So we're not the only union doing this. As you know, France have done it for the last 3 years. New Zealand have started it. Scotland will be starting it when their season starts. So we're working with World Rugby on that, and actually make sure that there's a coordinated approach to that. But it'll be both quantitative and qualitative. So we'll use the National Rugby Survey our data and insights side team, and also a bit of a plea from us to you guys. Actually, we will be using CRISP as well, so that's our community rugby injury surveillance program. Those who are involved in Book Super Rugby will be well aware of it already, but we need more the merrier. So the more universities involved in that, the better the data, the better the information we get, and that we can actually start to pass that through the game. So when all the information comes through, we'll make sure that the sign up to CRISP comes out there. So help us be involved in the program, so we can actually start to monitor the enjoyment factor and the change of the game, as well as putting player safety at the heart of everything. That's all the questions I had, actually, to be fair. I know I can see Salty busy writing away. I wasn't sure if you wanted to do your little closing remarks.
Yeah, unless there's any other questions. I think we've got everything from the chat. Oh, there's one just come in from Paddy.
Paddy, you can unmute if you want to just ask us if you want, if that's easy.
Thanks, Mike. Just from Bucks' perspective, we expect our earliest fixtures to take place late September. That'll be with BSR. But when would you expect the very first fixture under the new rules to take place? Would it be from the 1st of July when friendlies start to come online, or when would the institutions, when they start their programs, get back to season and start playing each other in pre-season for that to happen? If that makes sense.
Absolutely brutal.
When would be the first date we'd expect to see this? I guess what's the earliest date?
So the law starts.
Everyone knows.
Tell me if I'm right, Mark. The law starts as of the 1st of July.
Okay.
The law comes past the 1st of July.
We all know that.
Okay.
Yeah, just I've read the question now, Paddy. That was a long one. Well done. Quick typing. This, again, it comes back to what I said earlier, Paddy, that we are really keen that everyone, no matter if they're on the pitch or off the pitch, has an understanding. And what we've actually done, something I should have mentioned earlier, each of your institutions will get copies of the posters that Mike put up earlier. So hard copies of those, and in the hub are soft copies as well. Pushing that out as much as possible through your social media that reaches not only players but reaches your spectators, even their parents, all those sorts of things as well. We're just looking for a mass communication and passing on and cascade of that information to as many people as possible, because of course the expectation of those on the touchline who are less informed than the coaches or the referees or the touch judges is really important as well, creating the right atmosphere. And Mike talked about my closing remarks. One of the other pleas that we've got, and some of you will recognise this as you do referee the game, but referees are learning this as well. It would be really easy to say referees are getting it wrong, that sanction was wrong, etc. We want the referees to be massively supported in this. They've probably got one of the most difficult jobs in the implementation of a new tackle height. Everyone should recognise that and be really empathetic towards it as well. And some of the things that might get penalised early on that you might disagree with, that referee is also trying to work that out as well. So anything that you can do to model that, to encourage that in your students, your captains, etc., right across the women's and men's game would be really helpful. And of course, Paddy, that also goes for our spectators as well. The whole ethos around making sure that the game is working together, and everyone across borders is wanting to do that as well. So that's part of our plea, is to try and engage people with it and get them to understand that it is a change. We've been through changes before when we changed engagement in the scrum and things like that. It does take time. We have to recognise that and make sure that everyone is on the same page and backing each other as much as possible. And my final bit on that really is it's brilliant. This is a really good turnout considering many of us were together less than 3 weeks ago. This is a really good turnout for this. We had over 100 on a school session last night. Yesterday we had over 30 on a colleges session. So everyone is engaging, which is brilliant. Please continue to engage. That would be the final plea from us, because your feedback and what we can do in a month's time to answer more questions that are specifically around what you found in the hub, or trying to push the information out, wherever it might be, is really important. So share the hub, utilize it. You don't need to guess. Everything that you need is on there. If it isn't, please do ask, and we'll try and make sure we've got the information updated quickly and available to you. And that final point Mike made, we want to monitor and evaluate this. We have a number of institutions who already complete the CRISP, the community rugby injury surveillance data. We're going to really have a push on that as well, because we need to find out the implications of all the different laws of the game, and particularly ones based around the safety of players, because we know there's that is existential to the future of our sport. So anything you can do to engage, continue to engage, to share the information is massively valued by us, and please keep the connection going and feedback as well.
There's just a question. It does reply. The guys have asked about sevens. It does apply to sevens as well. Yeah. So it's everything, every format underneath the championship and underneath the Prem 15s for the women, for the community game. Jeff, your point, good point. So Jeff's asked about school players who are not at a club coming direct to university. I can't speak to all schools, but actually the ones we've engaged with, the ones who've been chatting to us, let's stay on if you want to have a chat through.
Okay.
Engage with the ones who've engaged with us, that they coached low body tackle already. So we've had no concerns from schools already. We've had no concerns already. They've fully embraced it.
My particular concern was on the role of the ball carrier, because my experience in 10 years here at the university is that people arriving here are very proficient at tackling and the right way to tackle.
So you're worried about the play off nine, the little setup plays off nine where they just...
Well, not just that, it's the ball carrier height. Good coaches will coach lowering body height. And I think the opportunity of changing that is very limited in terms of students making the transition from school into university.
Okay.
And particularly the program I run, the intramural program, which has around 250 guys involved, getting the message over to them in a relatively limited period of time is going to be difficult. As well as that, we rely on university referees or student referees, and the work that we're going to have to do with them is quite considerable in a relatively limited period of time. Now, people will say, well, you can delay the IMS program. Well, a 10-week term, that's really difficult to do.
It's a small window, isn't it?
So I'm not saying it's not, you can't overcome those issues, but they are issues that are going to raise their head, if you pardon the expression, during the summer, particularly those coming straight from school with no previous knowledge of what's changed. And we don't have the information of our students coming here,
right,
which is crazy, but that's another matter. but I do think it will cause one or two issues that possibly need to be addressed on a university to university basis, I guess.
Jeff, we've recognised that there are some, there are challenges in this. Any sort of major change in the laws of the game does create a challenge, and then there are some specific groups where it'll be more challenging than others.
Yeah.
And just the same. Another example is that those who are learning the game in the very first stages of contact, that the fear factor of going low, we know is something that is going to be an issue as well as those transitioning from a school playing program into a university playing program as well. So they're the areas that we want to try and spend more time on, information exchange and making sure that we've got the right information in the right hands of people. And you're right, those who are active in a club, every parent who has registered one of the 100 and nearly 70,000 players this year in the club game received an email last Friday with all the information. But we know there are at least a half as many whose kids don't play in club rugby. They play in school or college, and they haven't had that information. So, as Mike says, that's why we're trying to work directly with those institutions as well to create a pathway to their parents and the players as well. So, but you're right, we won't reach everyone because we never do.
No. I appreciate that. I mean, it's 50% of our playing base, to be honest, that arrive here that won't have a club experience. So there is some work that we need to do to make sure that whatever we do is safely done, I guess.
Yeah. And we would say, and Katie, won't we, any ideas about how we might be able to do that better, how we might be able to reach them, working with Bucks, and others, let's share those. Anyone has any ideas on how we can do that better, let's keep that going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that.
The resources will be there. We just need to change the time of year, don't we? Capture everything, don't we?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Especially those who've just done A-levels and are disappeared to the far corners of the world. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Jeff. Good stuff as always. I think we're done, aren't we? I think there's no more questions anyway. So just look, massive thanks for everyone's time. We really appreciate it. I know that's a small window during lunchtime, during busy term time. So we appreciate it. We'll keep in touch through the summer months. Like I say, dig into the hub. Enjoy that. And thanks very much for your time. Cheers, everyone. Have a good one. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm happy to stay on, Mike. I don't know whether you've any
fine.
additional stuff that can be provided.